Hello, so we're back at Chaos Farm again today. It's a little bit windy, but it is dry, so hopefully it stays that way. So what we thought we would do this morning is just go around the farm and actually show you what we do first thing in the morning. So when we first get here, once we've set the the barn up and got it all ready, you'll have to excuse the noise, we've got lots going on today. Once we've set the barn up and we've got our boots and everything on, then what we do is actually we split off into two groups. One does the green checks, which we're going to go through in a moment, and then one does the animal checks, which we will also go on to a bit later. So right now we are with Bob, hence why I've got my mask on, because we're closer together. So Bob, what are you actually doing with the green checks?
Right, well, we just go around in the morning really, and we're checking for anything since we've left the plants overnight. So we're looking for any damage, you might be looking if there's been a lot of slug activity, mouse activity. We're checking if things need watering, any other pests, if there's aphids or anything like that. Because we're growing in a greenhouse, we're also checking that we haven't lost any glass and stuff in the wind. Generally stuff like that. But when you've got a lot of plants, it takes quite a lot of time just to, if you're going to be really thorough with it. But if you do need to water, you can kind of do two jobs at once, and you can be watering and checking your plants at the same time. But
so we were just having a little bit of a chat off camera a moment ago about some of the things that Bob's actually got in the greenhouse, because this is kind of what's left of the first sowing, isn't it? The rest of it is out already, isn't it? Yeah,
I wanted to put the kale in the polytunnel, but we maxed it out. It is full of kale anyway. So this is I podded it up, and it's still growing quite happily, and hopefully we'll be able to find a home for it.
So can you just go through and just tell us kind of what you've got in there that's kind of still there, really?
Okie doke. We've got some chard, which was really slow coming along. We lost a lot of this to damping off in the bad weather. A couple of different types of kale. Broad beans. We've got some broad beans. We've got a lot more of them up in the polytunnel, but there's some other broad beans coming along. Sweet peas that some of the volunteers did. They've not done amazing. I think there might be some more of them somewhere else. But they're quite productive plants when they get going anyway. So that should be enough for us to have a little display of sweet peas somewhere. There's some lettuce, some of the leftover lettuce. We'll find a home again, and then there's a few random things like an echium that we're trying to get to survive. I think you might be right.
And then we were talking about these things here, weren't we, before?
Yeah, they were given to us as aubergines, so I've sort of overwintered them. We'll see what they do.
Have a little surprise at what they are.
Yeah, they're rather piddly at the moment, but we shall see.
So what were you looking at the bottom then, to see if they're pot bound?
Yeah, I mean, all I did was pot them up. It's not completely.
So they've got quite a good root on them, haven't they? But not too much.
We'll see what they do when spring comes.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow you just out, because we're going to go over towards the polytunnel now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, because there's quite a lot of noise down this end and banging and clattering and different sawing going on. So what we'll do is we'll probably come back to the studio for maybe just one song, and then we'll come over, get our way over to the polytunnel through all the mud and the noise, and hopefully then we'll have a little bit more peace and quiet to show you the rest of the polytunnel, and then we'll carry on down towards the horses. So see you in a minute. So we're back in the field. It is a little bit windy over here. So we're just going to follow Bob in through the polytunnel and just watch some more of the green checks. So after you, Bob.
Come on in.
Do you want me to hold it? We'll let you go in first.
A couple of these barriers to keep the dogs out and such. When the doors are open. Yeah, so as you can see, we're pretty maxed out for kale in here, so.
So most of these down this left-hand side are kale, aren't they?
Sorry?
Most of these on this left-hand side are kale?
Yeah, it's all kale on the left, yeah.
It's all kale on the left.
There's the odd bit of lettuce that I've squeezed in up there. But no, they're coming along nice, and because they've been grown under cover, they're quite tender, and we'll try and get a baby leaf crop off them soon, I think.
Can't wait to have a taste of them.
Oh yes. And then we've just been trying to empty the tables now so we can start sowing other stuff really. So this is like the last stuff. Whether or not it even gets planted out, we might end up just scrapping some of it.
So what have you got on the table then? There's beans?
Well, there are a few more broad beans in here. Yeah, we did a lot of broad beans.
Yeah.
So they're in every single space we've got.
Okay.
Really. Oh, then there's some rather miserable looking things really. As I said,
They haven't come out quite so well, have they?
They're the last of everything has really been planted out or potted up, and the last stuff really. Well, I mean, the spring onions are really finally starting to get going. So they're the thing that I'm putting into here now as and when any of these crops get picked or
some of them at the end, they look really lovely, great big leaves down there.
Hoping they'll come along. There's still a bit of bulb.
So what have we got this side then? We've got the
few different sort of winter green things. Yeah, there's different types of Chinese cabbage and pak choy, but as we've spoken about, they've had a bit of a hard time. So some of them are running to flower. They're running to seed, which means they'll stop producing leaves for us.
But it does mean that we get to taste the goodness of them, and they do taste pretty good
when they're super fresh. Yeah. And then as and when stuff's come out, I'm just putting in, replacing it with the lettuce, which is, they're starting to get going. So like I say, we'll get baby leaf off and stuff. Baby leaf crop soon.
Fantastic, looking good.
Mm.
And then in the other polytunnel, in the smaller one,
the little one is crammed full of broad beans coming, and the onions and the garlic that we've overwintered.
Yeah. Fab.
You want to have a look at them as well?
While we're here, if we can just see, because we've been talking previously on Chaos TV about the third polytunnel, and we have got it part way up. So if we can maybe just have a little sneaky peek. So I know previously we saw like the holes and the lumps, but we didn't actually see very much more. So now the structure of it is there. Obviously it hasn't got the main cover over it because of the wind. As you can hear in here, the wind is quite high at the moment. So to try and get a cover on today or recently, we would have just taken off and ended up in Australia. So if we can just pop out and we see the other polytunnel, or the start of, that'd be great. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We're just okie. I've just kept that one up.
Nice one.
So we can come around this side, and you can see the horses are waiting for their breakfast. Hey, Ray! So, Fluffy's just pinged off. I'm just going to go catch a Fluffy bit. If you can just explain that's how windy it is. If you can just explain about the wood chip, I can see it. Okay. You explain about the wood chip and I'll catch it.
You're still going to be able to hear me. Go. All right. So here's the little one. Here's the new one coming along nicely. Just waiting for some slightly better days to continue working on it, because there's a bit of ladder work and stuff, which perhaps isn't so safe in this kind of weather.
We have to cope with all sorts.
Oh, yes.
Horses, fluffy things, and all just it's all the elements. But we'll get there.
Plenty
we are nothing but persistent here at Chaos. Yay!
I don't know how long it will last.
So we have the structure, which previously we didn't. And I'm just trying to think back when we were last in the film with these horses. We have big lumps and bumps here, so you can actually see now it is something a bit more. Yeah.
And with this one, we've gone for twin braces, which are either side of the main ridge. So hopefully it will be a little bit sturdier. Not that the frame's really the thing that we worry about with these in this kind of setting, but we thought we'd try
a different variety.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more tweaking to do. Then we've got to get the door frame on.
Yeah. So we've got to make some more holes, haven't we?
Oh no, we've got base rail with this one as well. So instead of burying the plastic, it's attached to a rail that runs along the base around the whole thing. So we've got a few more things to do before we're at the point of getting it covered.
But it should come on quite quickly once it actually gets there, shouldn't it? Really?
Yeah. No, well,
weather depending.
We got all this up in less than a day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got rained off from you. We might have done more, but we got rained off. But then there's even space for a third one up there, so we'll see what happens.
Which is great. Should we just have a little look in that one?
Yeah.
We'll follow you around. You're doing a green
Which
check
one's
for this
gonna
bit.
be less windy? Should we go around?
Yep.
Oh, I bet that sounded lovely on camera.
Cover your ears, guys. Wowzers, so this one is actually more full.
Yeah, absolutely. These are all our broad beans, which are all coming along all right. They got a little bit hot yesterday. I actually ended up taking everything out yesterday because it was too hot. This one's smaller, so
it keeps the heat
and it's
more.
tucked into the hedge. So one that's still there yesterday, it was really hot in here. I just had to take it all out and just leave it on the floor, really. Fingers crossed.
So I
those
hope
will
you
be
like
right.
broad beans.
So,
I hope everybody likes broad beans.
oh, how can you not like broad beans? They're one of those really early crops. You know, when they come in, they almost feel like they're gone before you quite had your fill of them. So we've got a lot to hopefully get a good crop. These are the garlic and the onions, which they're doing okay. They're doing okay. We need some space to plant things down, but the weather's holding us up. But I think maybe next week is the next week when we'll be looking a bit better. Okay, cool.
Yep, it is.
Fingers crossed. But this one, I think being a smaller tunnel, we may be doing less growing in here and more propagating. We might be doing more seed sowing and stuff in this one.
You can actually feel the wind more in this one. When it blows, it feels like the actual polytunnel's moving,
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
it?
they do move a little bit. Yeah, they got a little bit of play, yeah.
But you don't notice it as much in the big one as you do in this one here.
Indeed.
So what we might do is we might come back to the studio, go find where the ladies are and see what they're doing with the horses. So all the animal checks, and go around with them for a minute just to catch up on that as well. So we'll come back to the studio for you, I can't get my words out today. Come back to the studio for a few songs and then we'll see you in 5. Okie doke, so we're back in a different part of the farm. We're kind of a bit all over this morning, I have to say. But we're actually going to see the first part of the animal check. So Oscar and Magic, the 2 horses that we're going to see with kind of some of our volunteers, they are the oldest horses. So Magic is 28 and Oscar is 24. So they're actually in the stable at the moment because they've lost a little bit of weight, because they're a bit older. They just need that little bit more TLC. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to get rid of the string, is we're going to actually touch base with them. We're going to see the stables. The stables have already been done by the looks of it. Make sure that's all closed up. So we'll introduce you to the stable first. So this is Magic's bedroom. This is Magic's bedroom. So in here, you can see she's got a lovely, great big deep bed of straw. Some of it still needs a bit more shaking up. So this is the straw. It's a little bit thicker than the hay. So the hay is what they eat and the straw is actually their bedding. And this, just trying to find a nice big piece of it. There we go. So this bit you can see, it's not huge, but if I rip it, there we go. You can see it's hollow. Hopefully you can see that in the dark, it's not great, but it's hollow. So what that does, it just absorbs any moisture. So it could be from urine, it could be kind of, sounds horrible, but poo juices from horses, liquid poos, anything like that really. So anything that's kind of a bit moist will be absorbed into this, and it just naturally seeps to the bottom. So then what we do is we actually take out all the wet from the bottom and leave the dry stuff on the top. So it's a really nice bed for them to actually have. So this here is the hay, and Magic doesn't eat all of this hay. This has actually been shaken up. So it's about half a bale, but it's been shaken up, so it's a little bit easier for her to access. So if it was condensed into kind of sections, so you can see, let's see if I can find one. Here we go, there's a section. So that is one section. So she's got probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 sections in half a bale. But what we do is we just shake it up like that, So it makes it a bit easier for her to eat it rather than it being kind of real clumped together. So I'll bring these two together and then hopefully you can see the difference. So this is hay that they eat and this is the straw that they lie on. There's somewhere in here. Here we go. Look, we've got just a few ears of corn. There they are. So those are the ears of corn. So that's kind of what you get porridge from. This is a wheat straw rather than an oat straw or a barley straw. Barley can itch horses quite a bit, but this is the kind of the grass, if you like, or the not the grass. It's the seed, I suppose you could call it. And then here, this is from the hay. So this is hay in my right hand, and this is straw in my left. So you can see the colour-wise, they're a little bit different. So the straw is more grey-yellow, and the hay is more greeny yellow. So this is basically, hay is dried grass. So it's grass that's been cut and then left to dry in the sun for usually, depending on the temperature, 3 to 5 days, sometimes 7. Last year wasn't a good year for, no, year before, sorry, wasn't a good year for hay, but last year was quite a good year. So generally, we just like to let it dry, and then that's actually dried grass, basically hay. So if you want haylage, you don't dry it for quite so long, so there's still a bit of moisture in the grass, and that's actually a little bit richer for the horses, so it's a bit sweeter. So what you can see is the colour, and smell-wise, I have to take my mask off, but smell-wise, the hay smells that bit sweeter. So it's kind of like, what would it be like? Fresh baked bread compared to bread that's a day old. That's kind of the nearest similarity that I can give you. This one's a little bit dustier, so the straw's a little bit dustier. It's just that little bit older, a bit drier, because it's already dried before we cut it, because then the seed, like the wheat on the top, is actually dried and ready for use, whereas the grass, or the hay, sorry, it's just that little bit moister. So there's the difference. So obviously Magic's bedroom is lovely and clean. She now has no poos. She doesn't have any wet in here at all. And it's all clean and clear, so that's good. So what we'll do is we'll go outside the door and we'll just very carefully, because there's a step. Alex, our cameraman, is doing very well walking backwards, negotiating the steps and the curbs. So what we've actually got out here is, as you can see, there's a whole myriad of different things going on. So Joe is sweeping up all the straw and the hay that's been left over. Danny's picking it up, so it's all cleaning up. I think I can hear in here. Yeah, Ness is actually making breakfast for the horses. So we've got Ness and Angel. Hey Angel, good girl. That are just actually making the breakfast for the horses. So there's going to be 4 food bowls. So that's Oscar, Magic, Ryan and Wilma. So those are the 2 horses up in the Polytunnel field that we saw a moment ago. So what we're doing is just trying to give them all a little bit of breakfast. And Angel too, by the looks of it. Definitely a bit of breakfast, Angel. Just so that they all kind of have a little bit of extra, really. Good girl. And as you can see up on the board at the back, there's all the different horses and all the different feeds that we've got, all the different kind of scoops that they have. They basically all have the same food in different capacities. So if we look at Trevor, who's right at the very, very bottom, he doesn't have any stud mix. He has a handful of molly chaff and a tiny, tiny bit of sugar beet, because he is one of the littlest ponies and he's already quite rotund. So we don't want to give him too much because it won't be good for his health, really. So over here, we can have, obviously we can see the 2 horses. So we've got Magic. Hey Madge. She's looking a bit wintered at the moment. She's had a bit of a mutual groom with Oscar, hence why she's got all these dribbly bits here. Yes, 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 yes. And she's got rather a long mane, so we do need to give you a bit of a tidy up, Madge. And then just around here, we have Oscar. And Oscar's not very happy. He's a bit grumpy today because he wants his breakfast. Hey, Oscar. So he does want his breakfast, but he had a lovely ride out of the weekend. Yes, we did. We had a lovely ride, didn't we? In which he kind of calmed down, and he's now been in the stable for, what, nearly a month, I think? Maybe a bit more, actually. So he's now kind of relaxed a little bit, and he's he's happier in the stable. So what we'll do is we'll give you a quick peek into Oscar's stable, because Oscar's stable is very similar to Magic's. So in here, again, we've got the straw, we've got the hay, and we've got the water. So they have fresh water every day. We have actually got the rugs just draped over the back, because when it was cold a couple of weeks ago, they got really cold because they're obviously in. It's like us, if we're in without any heating, we're sat down all the time, we get a bit colder, and the horses did exactly the same. So what we did, we gave them like what we call duvets. They're actually horse rugs on top of their purple rugs that they've got on at the moment, so that then they actually kept nice and warm. I'm just watching Oscar in the back, he's pouring, he's ready for his breakfast. So I'm guessing breakfast is coming for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to say goodbye for the minute, and we'll probably see you next week, because we are going to go and check the sheep, the chickens, turkeys, cows, chickens, quails, ducks, all the rest of it. So we're going to carry on, and we're going to toodle off, but we will see you next week. And next week we're going to be back in the Polytunnel, and we're going to be harvesting our first lot of veg. Very exciting. And hopefully I can get rid of my mask a little bit more if we've got kind of a bit more space. So we'll see you next week. Bye.